Well, we're here at the CCA workbench, and I want you to know personally, it stinks.
Yeah, it does. It's a little. Well, you know, it stinks because a catfish is what we're talking about. Trying to catch some catfish. You know, a catfish, his whole body is like a tongue. You know, he doesn't have scales. He's got all those barbels in the front. His whole raison d'entrée is to, you know, be able to taste the water around him and then go to where the food is. You know, and that's how you find them, really. You know, if you really want to, there's like 3 different catfish we want to catch, and there's a channel catfish, a flathead catfish, and a blue cat. And you know, they're all excellent to eat. The flathead catfish and the blue catfish are probably more apt to eat live bait, but all of them will. Channel cats, you know, they're a predator too. They're all, although they, you know, they get that reputation of just being scavengers, all those catfish will eat live baits. And as a matter of fact, if you really want to find a good concentration of either the blue cats or the channel cats, you need to find where the shad are. You know, and that's pretty much what all these are obviously prepackaged, but if you want to find the good concentrations of catfish, you want to try to find out where the shad are. And you know, in the wintertime, you want to look for warm places, because that's where the shad will try to bunch up in warm places, or you know, around marinas and concrete areas that warm up early will get more shad on them, especially in the wintertime. But at night, in the summer times, you can catch them around marinas and places where there's lights in the water. You know, around those cormorants areas where if there's cormorants around, they're probably close to the bait as well. And that's also where you'll find those catfish, around those cormorants, because like he said, where the cormorants are, there'll be catfish as well.
So once you establish where they're living,
right?
So what I hear guys talk about seed the area.
Well, this is what the fellows were talking about earlier. They were talking about range cubes, and that's what these are. These are cattle feed is what they are. They're concentrated cattle feed, and the fellows will get a big bag of them. You can get a whole 50-pound bag for like $12, and they got oils and stuff in them that'll attract fish. And as they dissolve, you throw 3 or 4 handfuls of those in a hole, you know, a good spot that's 12 to 15 feet deep, you know, over hardish bottom, place where you know that you've caught them before, and you seed that area for 2 or 3 days with those things. You don't want to overfeed them, because you can feed them till they don't want to eat anymore. But you know, just 2 or 3 handfuls for every couple of days will probably keep those fish coming and wanting to eat. Now I've got 3 or 4 different rigs here. One is just a regular fish finder rig, which will, you know, 20-pound test, you know, to a swivel, and then your whatever your weight is on top, whatever kind of weight you want, usually a round sort of weight, will be on top of your swivel, and that's your fish finder. And a lot of times, you know, you can put a lot of guys will put a float on their main line, on their hook line, and to get it up off the bottom. It's another thing. We always think that the catfish are always going to be right on the bottom, but this Santee rig is when they'll use a little float, and they'll put the float on and get it up above the bottom. And this is a 3-way rig, which is again, this one has a float on it actually. Got one with a float on it. But this is a 3-way rig with a 3-way swivel, and you can use this. You can drift with this kind of rig and bounce this on the bottom and have this floating off behind it, and you know, have a big chunk of shad on here, either a whole shad or a piece of cut shad. You know, it doesn't have to be a live shad, as long as you catch them live and use them fresh. They work way better than frozen or any other things. You want to use a big wide gap circle hook, kind of like one of these, or it's almost like a kale type hook, because you want a really wide gap to get around that the jaw. You can use any of the artificial baits like these super stickies or the fish bites.
This is new by Fish Bites.
Correct. They got new catfish bait. They come with either the shad or the crawfish, or even the liver.
All right.
You know, liver. If you're fishing with liver,
like
you're doing
liver.
good. I'm not a big liver fan.
Brie, you like liver?
Sure, I'll have some liver.
But get out
Not
there
if
and
it
seed
smells
some
like
of your
that, though, that's for
spots.
sure.
Oh,